Hey y'all, welcome to today's show. We will continue our series on culinary herbs that you can grow in your herb garden that have powerful medicinal effects. Today we're going to get into actually one of my favorite herbs. But before I do, it's that time of year. Some of y'all are starting to think about buying Christmas gifts and, oh, who knows, maybe gifts for Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, even. I don't know what you celebrate, but I think most of my audience is probably thinking about Christmas gifts. And my books make really good Christmas gifts. Let me just get that plug in there. Everything from this series of shows comes from growing your survival herb garden for preppers, homesteaders, permaculture people, and everybody else. I have all total 11 books. Not all of them are on herbal medicine. One, my cookbook, Omnivore's Guide to Home Cooking, is like everybody loves it so far. People enjoy cooking at it. They enjoy reading it. So if the person in your life isn't a prepper, they're not into herbs, grab the Omnivore's Guide if you want. I got books on Christianity. It's actually my conversion to Catholicism, so that may not be everybody's cup of tea. But, if you're a Protestant or a non-Christian, you may enjoy reading it just to kind of see why someone would make that decision. But yeah, got a lot of variety out there. And if, people in your life are not readers or whatever, that would be a shame because, books are where we get our knowledge from. Book learning and hands-on learning, I should say, go hand in hand. I don't think you can get everything you need out of a book, but books will give you a lot that you can't figure out on your own unless you have a really good teacher. But again, I think books are essential. Of course, being an author, I'm a bit biased. It's like that old joke. The fellow says, I used to think the brain was the most fascinating part of the body. And then I realized what was telling me that. It was Emo Phillips. He was hilarious. One of my favorite comedians from the 1980s. He was an odd guy, kind of this weird, nerdy guy. He talked like this. He said, one day I was walking along and there's some guys working on a roof, and one of them called me a paranoid little weirdo in Morse code. The guy's hammering on the roof, and he decides he's calling him a paranoid. My favorite, though, he says, one day I was walking along. This way he always started things. And he said, I saw my old friend Billy. And I ran up to him and I slapped him on the back and I said, how are you doing, you old son of a gun? And he started to cry. And then I realized Billy would have grown up too. It's like this third grader. He just went over and slapped on the back. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, if the people in your life are not readers, remember, I'm a wood carver. I mainly do spoons and kitchen items. I also weave baskets, long family tradition. These are really nice heirloom quality pieces you could hand on for generations. So check out my site, judsoncarrollwoodcraft.substack.com. Um, I put a lot of work into these. They really I enjoy doing it, and I have them at a price I think is very affordable. It's actually a fraction of what others charge. It's not going to be as cheap as a grocery store bamboo spoon you can get for 12 or 15 bucks, but I got spoons for like 30 bucks. Remember, I go out, I cut the trees myself. I buck up the logs. I split everything. Um, I literally I use no power tools. I carve everything with a small axe, a camp axe, and a couple of knives. So I put several hours worth of work into each of these, and I think they're really really good quality, and I'm kind of proud of them. The baskets are a little more, excuse me, the baskets are a little more expensive, but a spoon's going to take 2-3 hours to carve or so minimum. Baskets can be 6-9 hours minimum, and that doesn't include harvesting and processing the materials or the mailing and everything. And I do everything. I include the price of shipping and everything. So if you see a spoon for like 30 bucks and you think, well, it's fairly reasonable. Well, remember, I'm also paying for the shipping, which kind of expensive these days. At least $5 or $6 to get something with a tracking number. So I think it's pretty reasonable actually. And I got some really nice pieces up on the site right now. So if you're thinking about gifts for folks in your life, definitely check out my books and check out judsoncarrollwoodcraft.substack.com, and you'll see the links in the show notes. I appreciate it. And another idea, gift subscriptions to my Substack newsletter, the Southern Appalachian Herbs Substack newsletter, $8 a month, and people get all kinds of great content. A wealth. I really do more free and low-cost information on herbal medicine than anyone I know of out of the entire world of herbalists. I don't. I give more away for free than anybody, and that subscription is to my Substack newsletter, and you're helping support what I do. That's how I make a living. I get to write these books. I get to share this information with you because people like you buy my books, become a paid subscriber to the Substack newsletter, which is totally optional, by the way. Or buy my spoons or a basket or various things like that. And I greatly appreciate it. I say prayers for each of you every single day, multiple times a day and night, actually. So let's get into today's herbs. And this one's one of my favorites. It's Savory. And oddly enough, it's not much used anymore. It's fallen out of favor both in the kitchen and medicinally. There are two varieties of savory, summer savory and winter savory. Summer savory is mostly used, and I'll tell you, the scent is really good. It's kind of a little like oregano, but a little bit like marjoram, a little sweet, a little minty. It's really good. And it's one of those, you add it to eggs, meat, soup, salad. If you start doing that, you'll wonder why it fell out of favor. I mean, you're rarely going to see savory in a recipe these days or in someone's kitchen, which is a real shame because it's really tasty, especially with eggs. I just think savory with eggs is just ideal. But anyway, Maud Grieve gave us the most full description of the virtues, the medicinal benefits of savory in her herbal books written in the 1930s. She said, as a pot herb, a savory which has a distinctive taste, though it somewhat recalls that of marjoram, is not only added to stuffings, pork pies, and sausages. Yes, that would be so good in a pork pie. I have not had a good English pork pie in quite a while. Or a mincemeat pie. Ooh, yeah, we're getting into the holidays. I'm going to have to make up a batch of mincemeat. Yeah. When I was a kid in my parents' grocery store, they had like a 50-gallon barrel of real mincemeat. And you could just take the cover off and scoop some out. And, I mean, it was phenomenal. If you've ever had it, you got to try real mincemeat. Okay? It's delicious. But anyway, pork pies and sausages, as well as wholesome seasoning, but sprigs of it fresh, may be boiled with broad beans and green peas in the same manner as mint. It is also boiled with dried peas in making pea soup. For garnishing, it has been used as a substitute for parsley and chervil. Now, under medicinal uses, she said, savory has aromatic and carminative properties. Carminative just means it settles the stomach, and aromatic means it, well, you can smell it. And though it is chiefly used as a culinary herb, it may be added to medicines for its aromatic and warming qualities. It was formerly deemed a sovereign remedy for the colic and a cure for flatulence on this account, and it was also considered a good expectorant, and it is. It's a good lung herb. It's a good herb for colicky babies. It's a good herb for indigestion, gas, etc. It's a good herb. But moreover, Culpeper tells us, you remember he was a British herbalist in the 1500s. No, 1600s was Culpeper. He said the juice dropped into the eyes removes dimness of sight if proceeded from thin humors distilled from the brain. Now let's think about what he might mean. Thin humors distilled from the brain. He means mucus. He means, junk in your eyes. It would help clear it. The juice heated with oil of roses and dropped into the ears removes the noise and singing and deafness. He was actually saying it was good for tinnitus or tinnitus, whatever, roaring ears, ringing ears. And outwardly applied with wheat flour, it gives ease to them. It has an anti-inflammatory property, and it also has some antimicrobial, some antiseptic properties. He says, keep it dry, make conserves and syrups of it for your use, for which purpose the summer kind is best. Well, I like summer savory quite a bit. This kind is both hotter and drier than the winter kind, winter savory. It expels tough phlegm from the chest and lungs, quickens the dull spirits and lethargy, and if the juice be snuffed up the nose, dropped into the dropped in the eyes, it clears them of thin, cold humors proceeding from the brain. Well, of course, in the 1600s, so we know now that the mucus in your nose and eyes doesn't come from your brain, but that made a lot of sense to them back then, and you can see why. Outwardly applied with wheat flour as a poultice, it eases sciatica and palsied members. It's good for sciatica and sore muscles and trembling, weak muscles. Very good. It's more mild, it's more gentle than many of these herbs that can kind of burn the skin a little bit. Both the old authorities and modern gardeners agree that a sprig of either of the savories rubbed on wasp stings and bee stings gives instant relief. It's a good herb for poultices, soothing insect stings. In modern use, I'll catch up a little bit. Plants for Future says summer savory is most often used as a culinary herb, but it also has marked medicinal benefits, especially upon the whole digestive system. The plant has a milder action than the closely related winter savory, or S. montana. The whole herb, S. savory montana, just means the one that grows in the mountains, by the way. That's all it means. Montana actually means from the mountains. If you live in Montana, you probably know that, and if you don't, you don't. The whole herb, and especially the flowering shoots, is antiseptic, aromatic, carminative, digestive, expectorant, and stomachic. Taken internally, it is said to be a sovereign remedy for colic and a cure for flatulence. I think they're quoting that from Culpeper. Whilst, the English love to say whilst, it is also used to treat nausea, diarrhea, bronchial congestion, sore throat, and menstrual disorders. It should not be prescribed for pregnant women. All herbs in the mint family, dangerous, can cause miscarriage, really kill both mother and child, and used in what we call medicinal doses. We're not usually talking a pinch and some food. A sprig of the plant rubbed onto a bee or wasp sting brings instant relief. The plant is harvested in the summer when in flower and can be used fresh or dried. The essential oil form is an ingredient in lotions of the scalp and it helps in cases of incipient baldness. An ointment made for the plant is used externally to relieve arthritic joints. So you see it does have a lot of crossover with some of the herbs in the same family we talked about before, but it's a little more mild. Miss Grieve actually told how to grow savory. She said summer savory is raised from seeds sown in early April. In shallow drills, it means you plant it shallowly, 9 inches or a foot apart. Select a sunny situation and thin out the seedlings. When large enough to about 6 thin to about 6 inches apart, it likes a rich, light soil. Seeds may also be broadcast. What people now call throw sowing. When I grew up, it was called broadcasting. It's always called it on the farm. And then thin out the seedlings to separate them into 2 different beds, about 6 inches apart, and make sure they're well watered. Seeds are very slow in germinating. This is not one that's going to pop up real quick. You could grow them as seedlings and transplant them out. She said in June, but really anytime after the frost. She gives us a little more interesting information about the history of it, but that's not really, what we're talking about today. She mentions that Shakespeare mentioned it together with mint, marjoram, and lavender in one of his writings, The Winter's Tale. And it actually has some association with ancient Greek legends and such. But anyway, savory's not a difficult herb to grow. It is an annual, so hardiness is not an issue. You can grow this anywhere. You can grow it directly from seed after the last frost. You can start it inside and take it out after the last frost. It likes full sun to partial shade. It doesn't require too much water. Grows about 6 inches to a foot tall, just in the mint family. The flowers vary from white to pink to light purple. They're small and not very showy. Really nothing about the plant is very showy. But it is such a pleasant herb in the kitchen. It is one of my favorites. So I totally recommend this one. And then another one you probably haven't heard of or haven't used before, maybe you've heard of it, is sweet Ciciley. It's another herb that for no apparent reason has fallen out of common use. Our ancestors used a lot more herbs in cooking than we do. That's contrary to what